Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Hope we meet you well, and hope you had a great weekend. Let's start off this weekend looking at staying on the polity, and in particular, let's go to the PDP. Let's look at PDP's post-election crisis. Of course, it is well known that it was quite a I don't know how to put it. Maybe let's just say it was quite a dynamic ride right up until the election. But now to look at, and then as you know, the news broke yesterday that the national chairman of the PDP had been suspended in his home state, that is his ward, the ward executive of PDP in Igiorov, I hope I got that right, ward of Boko, local government area in Benue State. My guest is Honorable Ken Okolugbo. He's a former PDP chieftain, he's a public affairs analyst, he's also a former PDP campaign council member, and that's apart from having served as a commissioner in Delta State. Good morning to you, Ken Okolugbo.
Morning, Uncle Yori. It's my pleasure.
Good morning, sir.
Being back on your program.
Yeah, he's been quite a while. Thank you, sir. Did you see this coming? The suspension of the chairman as an observer, because you know, he had resisted previous calls until his own ward executive now say they have removed him. So did you see this coming at all? And what does it portend?
Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw it coming. One of the reasons why some of us left the party was because of some of the decisions that was reached by the National Working Committee under this chairman. The truth be told, you know how I was very vociferous for the PDP. You know how passionate I have been for the PDP. And apart from being passionate about the PDP, I have been one person that stood for the party at a time that the APC won elections in 2015, and most people didn't want to talk about the party. Iyochayu, I will say, has been one of the most controversial chairmen we have had in a very long time in my former party. Why do I say this?
Yeah.
There were so much negotiations between the G5 governors, between the Iyochayu, between the leadership of the party. They needed the zoning arrangement to be properly respected. And in all said and done, it was as if the PDP was tailored towards an end, not to win an election. They were on this. But this is a fallout of those decisions that were taken, which culminated into his being suspended by his ward. So he's going to also go by the way of the same banana peel that most of the PDP chairmen have gone. That's eventually what is going to culminate to. Because even if you say these governors that are fighting are outgoing, some of them have been able to install successors who will pander to them and protect the interests of their predecessors moving forward.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you, Ken. For a while there, the sound sort of dropped out, and then it came back on again, and it was a substantial chunk of time. But maybe it'll come back out what you said at that time when we look at it. So where do you see the when this kind of a thing is going to happen, it has to go and happen back at the ward executive, right? So that's why. And then it will be ratified, if it will, by higher bodies. That's the way it goes, right? Because we're hearing now that he's been suspended. Is that done and dusted, or does it still need ratification?
Well, the truth about it is, for the position of chairman, some would argue that he cannot be suspended by his ward, because the Constitution would say that the chairman should be referred to the National Executive Committee, National Working Council, then the National Executive Committee of the party. But the ward, everybody belongs to the ward in a party. So the ward is the most powerful organ, which was actually exhibited even in the case of Adam Soshomole in the APC. Yes, the concern of the APC and the PDP are not exactly the same. The PDP is quite different. But the thing here is that 12 members out of 17 members of his ward have passed a vote of no confidence on him. And so what it therefore means is that it has to be ratified by the state's working committee, which will now transmit it to the national body. And if you look at the national body, the NWC seems to be divided. If you're talking about those who did anti-party, almost everybody in the PDP would be guilty of anti-party. And so it will be very difficult for them to make a case for a select few, just like what Payosanyim said, that why did they go for soft targets when the likes of Governor Wike openly said they were not going to work for the party? Sheyi Makinde said they were not going to work for the party as long as Ayu remained the chairman. I thought what the party should have done now, in my own opinion, would have been to go on a soul searching, ask themselves, where did we go wrong? We have to go back to the drawing board. But they went into a volley of suspension. Even in the state chapters, you find governors who even won elections already revenging on those they perceive that they didn't work for the party. How do you find unity? What kind of government are you also trying to establish for those who are going to take over from you? You are only going to give them a divided party and a divided house. I mean, a house divided against itself can never stand, and that's the principle of natural rules. So the fact that the PDP has got it wrong it's very obvious. The National Working Committee would need to go back to drawing board at this rate. But looking at what has happened now, it's going to be suspension galore.
Now, well, as I just said, and you yourself have spoken about it, you used to be very passionate. Maybe passionate is passionate. There's no need for very. You used to be quite passionate about anything PDP. And I remember back in the day, we used to say something like, proudly so, proudly PDP. Now, you just said something good. Help me understand it a bit. You say, look, if the authorities within the party want to go down that route of anti-party activities, yes, I know you were being a bit hyperbolic, but you said that just about everybody would fall under that particular act. Help me understand that.
Okay, what I was trying to say is, for example, Anyi will tell you he worked for the governorship candidate for the APC in Ebonyi. Wike worked for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Makinde worked for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the APC president-elect. Now you go to Benue, Autumn worked for the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi. And even in Delta, you find that most of the PDP chieftains worked for Peter Obi, and even the APC also worked for Peter Obi. But you see here, 18 local governments, if I use Delta as an example, were won by Peter Obi. And the governor, who was the sitting vice presidential candidate as at that time, won only 7 local governments and a sitting governor. That is how much of anti-party activities did go on. And you can only blame the leadership of the PDP for all this. You can't blame those who decided to go that route. For me, I left the party. Not everybody could have been like me, who said, look, I can't stay within the party when I disagree with the party on certain principles. I left the party and I decided to voice my opposition to certain people that were chosen during the primaries, not only in the presidential, which I thought should have come to the South, but also in the National Assembly primaries that were done. I had cause to actually term my governor as an emperor, and some people said, oh, that was a very harsh word to use. And I thought it wasn't harsh at all, because as at that material point in time, no reason was going to be given for them to understand that a time of reckoning was going to come when they will account for some of the decisions they took during the primaries when they were playing God. And that's the fallout of why these anti-party activities did go on. I don't think PDP has ever been this divided, has ever been this disunited. It was political anarchy, as one of my leaders described it. That's exactly what has happened in the PDP. I wonder if PDP can ever pick up the pieces together if they're not careful, because we already have a very strong third force and a third party and a movement, which is the Labour Party. And so people might see that as an alternative now to the PDP.
Well, you're saying that PDP could actually be in danger of imploding itself?
Not even in danger. It's almost going on self-implosion. That's exactly what is going to happen. If we can't unite the House, we'll destroy the House. Have you ever seen where governors openly worked against their party and are proudly saying it, and leaders of the party? Anyim was the former Senate president, and he said it. He said because in his own case, he's kicked against the governorship candidate that was imposed on the PDP, who did come from the same zone as the governor. But all his appeals fell on deaf ears. And so he had no other choice. Just like what I also told you in Delta, where I said our governor acted like an emperor during the primaries of the party. You know, you can never have it your way. You should be able to allow some people. You should be able to give some. You can't take all the decisions yourself. You can't bring the governorship candidates, the deputy governorship candidates, the House of Assembly candidates, the National Assembly candidates. You can't be a Mr. Know-it-all. You must also give room to some other people to be able to make some choices or allow free and fair primaries. You see, the problem here, Yori, is that if you don't allow internal democracy to fester, this is exactly what you get when internal democracy doesn't fester. Now, what they're doing in Delta, for example, is that they're compiling names of those who they think have done anti-party, those that they've given appointments that they're relieving them of their appointments, those that they think that they have been having government patronage, that we're haunting them because they say they did not work for the party. But that should not be the case. They should rather go on a reconciliation mood at this point in time. They're soul searching because, like I always say, and I'm always proved right, what they're doing is going to eventually implode the party. It's going to make people angrier and will certainly cause them a lot more harm in future. They shouldn't forget that a lot of people are also in the tribunal.
Exactly. Your party is in the, your former party, PDP.
My former party.
Yes. I quickly corrected myself. Your former party, through the presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is in the tribunal. As we also know, so is the candidate of a Labour Party. So there's so much going on. I don't know. Atiku still had something of a decent showing. It just wasn't enough to make him win. So the point I'm seeking to sort of bring forward there is that he still was able to conduct, some sort of a campaign, and as you know, he came second. So it's where does the party look now? What happens now? Is there a sense in which the presidential candidate of the party can come in and prevail? Do you think he can make a difference on all of this? Because,
well, the thing about it is that the presidential candidate of the party remains the leader of the party. And so what he was supposed to do is to rein in on these party officials at this time. This is not what he needs at this time. You don't need to start thinking of suspending people, expelling people, taking some very drastic decisions. What was he actually thinking? I actually think he did a lot better than a lot of people think he would have done, just like you rightly said. Where you have 5 governors that were not working for you, you had some governorship candidates that were also not working for you, who were loyal to those 5 governors. And you also had people who were disenchanted. You had a very strong vice presidential candidate who had left for the Labour Party. You had Kwakwansu who had left for the NNPP. There was no way PDP would have thought it was going to be a roller coaster for them. Do you understand? I think Bola Tinubu owes it to, especially Peter Obi and Kwakwansu, a lot of gratitude for his victory too, because it might not have been like that if they had stayed with the party. Even if Nigerians wanted an alternative to APC, they didn't give that unity of purpose to fight the APC government. And so what Atiku is supposed to be doing at this point is supposed to be acting as an alternative government, in the sense that, if I was the president, well, what would I have done differently? Now I'm at the tribunal. First, let me heal my party. Let me forgive. Let us move forward. Let me call those who have been disenchanted. If you start pushing them out of the party, people have seen that they have alternatives now. Look at what Labour did. A lot of people won elections under Labour Party with the bandwagon effect of Obi's popularity. And today, a lot of people are looking at it that, look, if we all come in and strengthen the Labour Party, PDP will not now be the second or the alternative party that we have. So he's the presidential candidate who is the leader of the party that should take the bull by the horn and stop this drift that is or implosion that is staring at the party.
Now, of course, it's difficult to, quite frankly, see clearly where this will lead to, especially as the presidential candidate of PDP is busy at the moment. I'm talking about, his case before the tribunal, and just where this is, because it just might, we said that before. It just might be and I'm sure they must be listening. They must be also understanding that it just might be the end if we're not careful. Because if it becomes so mucked up that it's not attractive to anyone anymore, whatever happened that you decide that, you know what, guys, I'm just going to take my leave. So that was without bitterness, without acrimony, I would imagine. Okay, that expression there, do you want to expatiate on that? I just took it for granted that it was without any acrimony. I just wanted to take that for granted, but before the bottom fell out. Because if it had been now, we'd say, was this part of the reason? But since you made the move before, go on, Ken.
Okay, yes. The thing about it is, it's very clear that there's so much acrimony, there's so much bitterness, there's so much bad blood. From when they did the zoning, from when Secondus left the seat, Iyorchia Ayu came in. I remember then I served in 3 of the committees. I was in the publicity committee, I was in the electoral committee, and I was also in the accreditation committee. And I played a very active role in that convention. A lot of the governors did not think that at a material point in time, Ayu was not going to maybe do their bidding. And they also saw it too from the perspective that, the presidency was naturally going to come to the South. Article now emerging was sort of something that they did not envisage, because they thought they had taken charge of the party and they were sure that what they wanted was going to happen. I'm looking at it objectively from the view of an analyst. But when they found out that Ayu was not playing to their tune, they got upset and they said Ayu had to go. And Ayu also should have understood that being from the North and a presidential candidate coming from the North, it was only natural that you were going to have to hold on to that. If I was Ayu, I could have maybe made myself the sacrificial lamb. Yes, Atiku thought it was Ayu was not the target. The target was him. But if Ayu had left, they would not have given these governors the reason to continue to say, look, we're going to work against the party.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, my governor, as at that time, who was chosen as the vice presidential candidate, was seen as an opportunity. People saw him as an opportunist who took advantage of that situation and became the vice presidential candidate, instead of sitting on their Sabbath declaration that they had agreed on, that the presidency was going to come to the South. And so there was a backlash in the South against him. And it showed that the elections, because as the chairman of the South-South Governors Forum, Akwa Ibom held on to winning the elections for the PDP. Bayelsa held on. But Delta capitulated, Edo capitulated, and also Cross River. And Rivers was for APC. So you can't pretend that all is well.
Okay.
All is not well.
Ken, one moment, please. Let me bring on our first caller, Mr. George, calling in from IKEJA. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and greetings to Ken, too. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Uncle Yori, nature has just made it possible, because it is time for a president like Tinubu to emerge in Nigeria. If you look at the scenario, Uncle Yori, before the splittings in the PDP, before the time Obi was with them, Kwankanso was with them, and all of them were together. They didn't play an opposition that is worthy of his name. All we hear is they will just get in power. Just abusing them and saying uncomplimentary things is not what they call opposition. Opposition is about critiquing a situation and offering an alternative to convince the people that if they were to give you the chance to do it, you will do it better. We didn't see that when they were together. Is it now that they are in pieces that they will do that? You can see that even the presidential candidate of the PDP that eventually emerged in contravention with their own rules, could not put his own party together. If you cannot unite your own party, how can you unite Nigeria? And you say you are a unifier. That is the nickname they gave him. If you cannot unify your party, how do you unify Nigeria? So what is coming up now is their own making. As for whether a third force has emerged or not, I don't see it like that. If you check the situation on Kyori,
Yes.
you see that after the presidential election, the Obi movement instantly, decimated. Many of the followers got to know that, no, this is not, what we are seeing is not what we were told. It's like what we were told is not the agenda of the promoters. And already it's fizzling out. I don't see it sustaining because there is no genuineness in the volition behind it. So we still need a strong opposition. A government that has no opposition is likely to do whatever it likes. We need an opposition, and I will be happy if the PDP can still put itself together in strong opposition. But we need to undergo a lot of revolutionary changes, which I believe these G5 governors might be able to bring about. I see a situation where the G5 governors will have an upper hand. The good, let me use the word, the good people in the PDP will take it over and form a relevant opposition. That's what I can see. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Ken, as I'm sure you'll agree, a viable opposition is quite essential to any democracy.
Very important. Very important. I don't agree with George. He couldn't have said that the PDP didn't offer a viable opposition. At least I'm sure you bear me witness that you can't count how many times I was in your studio where I made it very clear and obvious that the government of President Buhari had failed on the three mantras that they promised: security, corruption, and the economy. I can't go on and on about the things I said about the misery index, about inflation, about unemployment. I was not alone in that as a member of the PDP. We had other people who spoke very strongly against the policies of the government of the APC. He couldn't have said there was no viable opposition. What happened was that the PDP took a very terrible decision when they decided that they were not going to zone the presidency to the south. And that left some of us quite disappointed who have been members of the party. And especially for those of us who now went back to our state and also saw what, for me, the governor did in the primaries of the party, it's culminated into my saying that, no, I was going to part ways with the party. That doesn't change the fact that the PDP has an viable opposition. Yes, the PDP can seem to be in pieces now. I have been a member of that party. Maybe I'm a bit more sentimental towards the PDP more than I would be to the APC. But the truth about it is that they can still pick up those pieces together. And for saying that the Labour movement has fizzled out, I disagree with him. He should have known that Peter Obi joined the Labour movement 3 months prior to the elections. And so there was no magic he was going to do to install governors in those states. The fact that he was able to get to the nooks and crannies of almost everywhere in Nigeria for someone who said that he did not have structures should be highly commended. He has a governor today, one in Abia State. You must start from somewhere. Buhari started from taking Nasarawa. He had the CPC governor there. And from there, he joined forces and eventually became the president of Nigeria. So do not wish away the Labour Party. I strongly disagree with George on those analysis.
Okay, let me bring on Reverend Dominic. Good morning to you, Reverend, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Chief Yori.
Good morning,
and good morning to my friend Ken there.
Yes.
Morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Now, Yori, the laziest opposition I've ever seen in my life for about 40 years in politics is PDP. Let Ken tell me the position in insecurity in Nigeria. Let Ken tell me the position the path PDP took on the economy of Nigeria. Let Ken tell me what PDP said when we called Naira that put us in this mess. In all the weaknesses of APC, which I belong to, anyhow, when APC was going that way around, I was so afraid. If we have a position we have in 2011 by APC against PDP, Nigeria will not give one vote to APC because APC makes a lot of things. Truth must be told. But PDP were lazy in the opposition. And let me say this again. The problem of PDP, the major problem, is Atiku. Now he's in Dubai. He has caused the war. Now Ado has gone. He has went back to his company in Dubai. By 2026, he will show up again. And that's the problem of Kane. That's most of our problems. A man loses election and run away. He wouldn't care how to build a party and give some opposition. And he will run away, come back to contest election. Until they change that attitude, PDP will do nothing. And it bothers my heart that today, too, I don't know whether Labour will give nice opposition by the way Labour is fragmented. Truth must be told. Labour is not a party. It's a movement of one man. That's the truth. A party must come together, have their structure together in order to present a strong opposition. Labour may not lead. Lastly, if my friend George thought that third force is a mirage, he has to look again. Third force is not to be. Third force is the problem of Nigeria of bad governance. So whether even my own president candidate elect, Tinubu is the part of that third force. Because Tinubu is part of bad governance. So bad governance is the third force. It will not be soon overnight. It will continue being stronger. Because every well-meaning Nigeria is in the third force to see that we have good governance in this nation. So George must wake up his sleep that third force has come to stay. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. Well, Ken, I don't know. You are a former member of PDP at a very, senior level. Are you still? Would you like to offer some sort of response to what?
Yes. I will respect. I'll respect my former party and I'll offer some response. It's so unfair that Dominic would say that the PDP was lazy. The PDP wasn't lazy at the time. Secondus actually apologized on behalf of PDP for some of the things that were done in the past, and I think that was actually statesmanly for him to have offered an apology. The PDP was rolling on the coast to victory until those wrong decisions were made. People make mistakes, so Dominic cannot now come and crucify PDP completely because of those mistakes that were made. Yes, some of us were totally disappointed in those mistakes. We were shattered. For me, I just didn't want to even continue with politics. Just the strong will to represent my people was what kept me on. If not, I would have quit politics with those decisions. But that doesn't mean that you now come and say that the PDP was lazy. The PDP was not lazy. The PDP continued to offer. Maybe, okay, we didn't have a Lai Mohammed. Maybe that is what he's trying to say. With your apologies.
Okay, then. I just leave that for now. In fact, thank you very much. I don't quite know how to take that. But what we'll do, Ken, I'll take a quick break so that we won't keep on interrupting you and the callers. We'll be right back. So please stay with us.